This is an Easton Axis 5mm arrow. We're going to build this to look like those. Let's get started. Alright, so what we need to get started is a mouse pad. I like to use a mouse pad to roll the wrap on. You don't have to use a wrap, but I like using wraps. I like using white wraps because when you do shoot through an animal, you can see the blood on it. I also like using white fletchings. I do have some green. I'm going to mix and match this particular one today. You're going to need a jig, an arrow jig. This is a Bitzenberger jig. It's one of the more popular ones, but there are very many on the market. This is a 3 Fletch and a 4 Fletch jig. Just by screwing in these tabs, you can change it to a 3 or a 4. We're going to do 3 today. At the end, once we've got it all fletched and ready to go, we are going to add a brass, 75 grain brass insert with the Easton 2-part epoxy, which has to sit overnight for 24 hours to cure. So the best thing to do is start off with a clean surface. Just take an alcohol wipe. There are also arrow wipes that you can get. It just helps to clean the surface that you're going to be going ahead and adhering things to. This is a AAE Max Weld primer pen. You have to use this on the fletchings in order to help them stick. We're also going to be using some AAE Max Bond glue today. It's very strong. It's very good super glue. And you're also going to need a couple of Q-tips, which will come in handy later. So while you're waiting for your arrow to dry, I like to pre-prime the fletchings here. Just take it and push down to release and just rub it into the groove there. And 3. Okay, you're going to take your wrap and you're going to put it sticky side up. Now what I like to do with these wraps is I'll cut them right down to the edge. You can see here when they come in a package, they come like this. I like to cut down this extra piece here to get this little symbol here as close as I can to the end. It just helps when lining up my fletchings because I like to put the fletching right next to the decal there. So we're going to take this, we're going to go sticky side up. And then what you're going to do is you're going to line up the end of the knock Some people take the Nocks off. You can take them off. You can leave them on, whatever you'd like to do, whatever you're comfortable with. Line it up with the end of the arrow. And you're just going to apply equal amounts of pressure and just roll it. And as it comes around, you're just going to lightly push down that edge and then continue rolling until you're done. And then you've got a nice wrapped end. You're going to get your jig, put the arrow in the jig. There's a notch in here, you can line it up. And as you get, the more and more you do this, you'll find, like I said with the spacing, I like the fletching to start right after the decal on the wrap, and I know where that is on here. So you just want to check it before you start putting glue on. Make sure it's 100%. Make sure you're lined up where you want to be. And then when you're ready, take the glue. This stuff's really good, as you can see. Sometimes, you know what, we're not going to use this one. Here's the AAE Max Bond glue. This one's got a little pin in the tip, which helps to break the seal in the end. And then you're just going to run a little bit of glue down in the end of the edge of the fletching here. When you get a close look at the fletching, you know, it's got a little bit of a curve to it, which is perfect for setting glue. And line it up again. This has got a magnet on it, and once you get into place, lightly press down and then let it sit. This stuff dries pretty quickly. I find that you don't have to wait very long. Some people wait 2 to 3 minutes. I tend to wait 30 to 45 seconds, and then you move on to the next. I've never had an issue with using this glue with any of the veins coming apart as a result of the wait time. That's good. Take that off, and then what you're going to do is you're going to turn this till it clicks, and you know you're at your next spot. You get the next fletching. Make sure you put it into the same marking as you did before, so that they're all uniform. So you need to have them all be the same. And you're going to run your bead of glue down inside here. Just like that. Attach the magnet. Get it into place and lightly press. Sometimes if you have too much glue, you'll see that it'll start to squeeze out, and that's when these Q-tips come in handy. I like to run the Q-tip down the side and get the excess. Turn to the next till it clicks. into the same marking as you did the other 2 times. Run your bead of glue down the center. Magnet. And lightly press until you can see that the entire fletching is touching the wrap of the arrow. Next part you're going to do is called tipping and tailing, where you take your glue and you put a dab on the tip here and on the tail here. And you do each one, and that just adds a little bit of extra adhesion to the ends of the fletching so that you don't have any issues with them starting to peel up. There we go. Alright. Do the back. Just a little blob, not too much. Just enough to cover the end surface of each fletching. There are other forms of glue that are slower drying that some people use for this. I've just ended up using the same type of glue and I've never had an issue, but everybody's different, so. There we go. Now we have perfectly fletched arrow. Once that dries, I'll put a lighted knock on the end and we'll be good to go. Now the next part is going to be adding your insert into the other end of the arrow. With the 5mm axis, these have to get pushed in through the end here with a tool, and they have to get recessed down inside. So you have to put glue on top of, a little bit of glue on top of the insert. This is the tool that you get to push your insert in. First things first, you want to make sure that your end of your arrow is nice and square. This is a squaring tool. Sometimes you'll get some carbon inside. Just want to make sure you clean it all out. Next we're going to mix the epoxy. It's a 2-part epoxy, so you got to rub both pieces together, both liquids together to form the epoxy. You'll know it's forming when it turns into like a yellowy substance. And there's a scoring mark here for scissors where you cut through both sides so that when you squeeze it, you end up squeezing both parts of the epoxy together onto your surface. I'm going to use this package here. Cut the epoxy right along the hash marks here. It's a bit of overkill for one. Usually you'd use this whole package for like a dozen arrows. I've got a few of these packages, so it's alright. I don't mind. You squeeze them out. Okay, take your Q-tip, swirl it around. It'll turn into like a milky, creamy kind of substance like this. And what you're going to do is take some on the end of your Q-tip, put some on the, just rub it on the insert. You don't need very much because as you push it in, the excess will push to the front. You're going to want to remove the knock before you put in the insert. That allows airflow throughout the shaft. You take your insert, coated with the epoxy, and you're going to take the end here and you can start it off, and I just tend to spin it as you put it in. You can see all the excess glue starts to coat around the top there, and you take your tool and you just push it the rest of the way in until it's recessed back, and you pull it out gently, and then you leave it alone. Let it sit 24 hours. And that is how you fletch an arrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Share them with your friends and let me know what you'd like to see next.